Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a little different, a bit more focused.
Yeah, we had a listener send in a source stack that was built entirely around a single prayer.
A prayer that is just, well, incredibly powerful, but maybe doesn't get the same attention as some others. We're talking about David's Psalm 86.
That's right. So instead of synthesizing a broad topic, our mission today is to use this one, you could say, architecturally perfect prayer as a lens.
And we're going deep. The foundational text is, of course, from the book of Psalms, and our guide through it is the really robust commentary provided by the You Need Faith in Jesus team.
Mm-hmm.
So our goal is, I think, intensely practical. We want to see if we can pull out actual, repeatable steps for, modern faith.
A blueprint.
Exactly, a blueprint for how to approach God that moves us from this place of acknowledged need all the way to a final declaration of, well, wholehearted confidence.
And to make sure we capture the precise weight of it all, we'll be quoting every verse and every cross-reference in the King James Version.
Right, exactly as it was laid out in the source material for us.
The structure of Psalm 86 is really a masterclass. It's a masterclass in dynamic worship.
How so?
Well, it teaches us how to move and to move seamlessly between this deep personal request and then high praise and then theological reflection and then just resolute faith. It's all there.
And if we had to boil down the entire purpose of this deep dive today, it really centers on this one request David makes about midway through.
The central question.
Yeah. How does anyone achieve a unified heart in a world that just specializes in distraction, in fragmentation, and in emotional division?
That quest for singular devotion, that's the thread we're going to be pulling on today.
It really feels like the highest calling of the psalm, and everything David says before and after that verse, it just sets the stage for that transformation.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. We have to start right at the foundation, which is the proper approach to God.
It's defined by humility, a secure identity, and persistence.
So what's the very first thing David establishes when he prays?
Total dependence.
Yeah.
Just absolute desperate dependence. He doesn't start by listing his resume or his merits.
No.
He starts by defining his spiritual inadequacy.
And we read it right here in Psalm 86.1. Bow down thine ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy.
That imagery is just so specific and profound, especially in the KJV. He doesn't just say, listen.
No, he says, bow down thine ear.
Yeah, and that paints a picture of divine condescension. Think of a king, this majestic figure, leaning down, physically lowering himself to hear the faint whisper of someone.
Of someone insignificant, someone small.
Exactly. It forces humility right from the very first word.
It establishes that vast necessary distance. But then he defines himself with that phrase. Poor and needy. We hear that today and we immediately think of money.
And that would be missing the depth of it. The You Need Faith in Jesus team analysis makes it so clear that while David was often in material distress, that's not the primary meaning here.
So what is it?
Poor and needy is an honest self-admission. It's about spiritual and emotional destitution.
It's recognizing you don't have the internal resources.
Right. It's a total dependence on God's grace, His wisdom, His power, just to survive.
So he's not trying to impress God at all. He's laying down any pretense of being self-sufficient.
It's the absolute antithesis of our modern hustle culture, isn't it? Where we pride ourselves on being self-made and capable.
It really is. So the practical step that comes out of just that one verse is, well, it's foundational.
It is. The proper starting point for all effective prayer is this honest self-admission of need. A willingness to just avoid any attempt to impress God.
You come with empty hands.
That's it. And what's so interesting is how consistent this was for David. This wasn't a one-time tactic. It was his realized state of being.
And the cross-reference our source provides really hammers that home. It echoes the sentiment perfectly.
It does. It's Psalm 40.17. But I am poor and needy, yet the Lord thinketh upon me. Thou art my help and my deliverer.
That addition, yet the Lord thinketh upon me, that changes everything.
How so?
Well, it transforms that acknowledgement of inadequacy from just, a cry of despair into a real declaration of hope.
Ah, I see. My need is the very thing that gets God's attention.
Exactly. Recognizing our neediness isn't a barrier to entry.
It's the required entrance fee. It's the humility that unlocks divine attention.
Okay, so that establishes the posture. But then, almost immediately in verse 2, David seems to, switch gears completely.
He does. He goes from being poor and needy to making a very bold claim about his own standing.
Yeah, and this is where, you need that deeper theological context because on the surface, it just sounds contradictory.
It really does.
He prays in Psalm 86.2, "Preserve my soul, for I am holy. O thou my God, save thy servant that trusteth in thee."
And you're right to see that apparent contradiction. How can he claim to be holy one second and poor and needy the next?
Right.
The analysis here clarifies that in the Old Testament context, holy doesn't mean sinless or perfect.
So what does it mean?
It means set apart or devoted. David isn't claiming he's morally superior. He's appealing based on his relational position.
So he's basically saying, protect me because I'm yours. I belong to you.
Precisely. I have been consecrated for your service. And he immediately clarifies it by calling himself God's servant that trusteth in thee.
So his appeal for preservation isn't based on his performance.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's based on God's ownership of him. The security is entirely in the relationship, the ownership, and the faith.
That makes so much more sense. It's an appeal that says, I've chosen to belong to you. Now please act like my protector.
And this relational confidence is a huge theme in Scripture. It's mirrored so powerfully when Jesus prayed for his own.
The source connects us to John 17.11, where Jesus is praying for his disciples.
And he says, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me.
It's the same principle. God preserves those who are his.
Yes. And the You Need Faith in Jesus team really emphasizes this. A believer's security today rests entirely on our position as being set apart through faith in Christ. We are safe because we belong to him.
And that gives us, or it should give us, immense boldness in prayer.
It should. The actionable step here is that you can confidently ask for preservation in any trial, not because you earned it.
Based on your position of belonging.
Yes.
Hmm.
And the finished work of Christ. It shifts our security away from our unstable feelings and onto God's unchanging ownership.
So we've got the posture, which is humility, and the basis for our prayer, which is our relational identity. Now, David moves to the rhythm of prayer in verse 3.
The consistency. It shows us that prayer isn't a status you achieve, it's a practice you maintain.
David states it plainly in Psalm 86.3. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily.
And this is a deep, deep revelation of David's spiritual life. Prayer for him was a persistent daily conversation. It was not a last resort.
He was in a continuous state of crying out.
He was. But wait a second, if he just claimed to be holy in verse 2, why is he immediately turning around and begging, be merciful unto me?
That's a great question. Doesn't mercy imply you've done something wrong? This seems to circle back to that same confusion.
It does, and this is the essential tension you have to wrestle with. The analysis from our sources points out that this request for mercy actually solidifies the true meaning of verse 2.
Okay, how?
Even the set-apart servant is still a fallen, needy human who requires mercy constantly. Mercy is, theologically, God withholding the punishment we deserve. It's undeserved kindness.
So David roots his entire prayer life in his consistent daily need for that undeserved kindness.
Exactly. So being in relationship with God doesn't get rid of our need for daily forgiveness and compassion.
It actually intensifies the communication needed to receive it.
Precisely. His dedication, I cry unto thee daily, is driven by his dependence. Be merciful unto me.
And this idea of consistency isn't just Old Testament wisdom, is it? It's a core directive for believers today.
Absolutely. It's made abundantly clear in the New Testament cross-reference provided.
1 Thessalonians 5.17, pray without ceasing.
Right, and pray without ceasing doesn't mean you're just reciting words all day long nonstop.
No.
As the commentary for the You Need Faith in Jesus team confirms, it means establishing this continuous, conscious dialogue, a persistent awareness of God's presence and our dependence on him all day long.
So how can someone listening practically move from that kind of, crisis-driven prayer to this continuous dialogue? It sounds exhausting.
It's about changing your default instinct. The actionable step is to integrate these short, constant mercy requests and praises throughout the day, instead of saving prayer only for these big, solemn moments.
So don't wait for the crisis.
Don't wait. Bring your thoughts, your requests to him daily, trusting in the complete mercy that's available through Jesus Christ. It becomes like breathing, an active, ongoing reliance.
Okay, that brings us to the end of that first movement. Humility, identity, consistent practice. And we transition. In the second section, David makes this deep internal request for joy.
Yes, and it's anchored entirely in God's character. If we are persistent in prayer, what are we really hoping to get? Just relief.
Or something deeper, something foundational for the soul.
It's absolutely something deeper. In verse 4, he asks for an internal restoration that goes way beyond his external circumstances.
He prays in Psalm 86.4, "Rejoice the soul of thy servant, for unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul."
See, David gets it. He understands that true, lasting happiness, that rejoicing in the soul, it's not something he can just generate on his own.
It's a gift.
It's a gift from God, but it's contingent on David's action of surrender. He asks for joy, but the reason he gives is active. For unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul.
Let's unpack that phrase, lift up my soul. It's so evocative. What does that internal act of lifting up actually look like?
It's the conscious redirection of your entire inner being. Imagine your soul, your thoughts, your emotions, your will, as a ship being battered by the winds of circumstance and worry and fear.
Okay.
To lift up my soul means you consciously steer that whole inner vessel toward God in worship and surrender. You take your focus off the storm.
So it's an internal act of yielding. David's recognizing that true joy is a byproduct of that surrender.
Yes, not the result of your circumstances finally lining up perfectly. It's the ultimate antidote to anxiety.
How so?
Well, anxiety is often the soul focusing inward on its own instability. Surrender is focusing outward on God's stability. And this intentional inner direction is vital.
We even see it in the cross-reference Lamentations 3.41. I mean, that's a book steeped in sorrow.
It is, yet it has this profound hope. It says, "Let us lift up our heart with our hands unto God in the heavens."
The unity of heart and hands, physical action matching internal direction.
And the practical application here is just huge for our mental and emotional health. When you're worried, anxious, or downcast, you have to intentionally lift up your soul.
And the You Need Faith in Jesus team teaches that this means shifting your focus as an act of the will.
Yes, from your overwhelming circumstances to God's unchanging character, placing all your hope and trust in Him alone.
So joy becomes an act of discipline, not just a fleeting emotion. But why can we trust that surrendering our unstable souls will lead to joy?
David answers that immediately. He anchors his entire prayer in the character of the God he's approaching. And this is the heavily indexed focus of verse 5.
You could say this verse is the theological bedrock of the whole psalm.
I would. Without this truth, everything before it is just a hopeful wish. With this truth, they become confident demands.
Psalm 86.5, "For thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee."
David gives us three inseparable attributes of God that should just destroy any hesitation we have in prayer. First, God is inherently good.
Not just sometimes good or good when we're good.
No, fundamentally good. Second, He is ready to forgive. And that word ready is so important.
It implies an eagerness, doesn't it? Not just a passive ability to forgive, but an active, prepared, almost enthusiastic desire for reconciliation.
That's it, exactly. The analysis confirms this is divine eagerness for grace, which is such a stark contrast to human nature.
We hold grudges. We demand penance.
We do. We're reluctant to let go. But God is not just willing. He is prepared and waiting to forgive.
And the third attribute.
His mercy is plenteous, abundant, overflowing, lavish, and it's available to all who call on Him. That's a foundational gospel truth centuries before the New Testament.
It's a promise of a limitless resource. And this readiness, this richness of mercy, that's why we can approach Him even when we are poor and needy and we're so aware of our daily failures.
It's the bridge. It connects the Old Testament need for mercy with the New Testament reality of grace.
And we see that bridge so clearly in the cross-reference, Ephesians 2, verses 4 and 5.
Which says, "But God, who is rich in mercy, for His great love wherewith He loved us, even when we were dead in sins, hath quickened us together with Christ."
Rich in mercy, even when we were dead in sins. That's the ultimate statement of unearned kindness.
And the actionable step here might be the most important one for overcoming spiritual paralysis. The You Need Faith in Jesus team really stresses this.
Which is?
That this assurance must destroy any hesitation you have in approaching God. You have to approach Him in faith, without fearing rejection, without worrying your sins are too great.
Because He is ready to forgive.
Yes, that relational reality is what makes the pursuit of joy through surrender actually sustainable.
Okay, moving into section 3. David now transitions from meditating on God's foundational character to a declaration of confident expectation.
Right, about his own current distress. This is about earnestness and absolute certainty in answered prayer.
David shows us how confident faith is expressed. It's through focused, passionate, persistent action. In verse 6, he actually repeats his plea from verse 1.
He does, but he adds specificity and urgency.
Psalm 86.6. "Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications.
The repetition of asking God to hear or attend, that shows deep earnestness. It's not weak faith. It's focused, passionate insistence.
He's asking for God's full, undivided attention.
Yes, shutting out everything else. And he uses that specific term, supplications.
What exactly does that mean?
Supplications are specific, heartfelt requests that come from a sense of deep need. He's not just offering a general, bless me. He wants assurance that his particular desperate needs are being heard.
It's the difference between a vague wish and an itemized list presented with urgency.
It is. And the basis for that urgency is still and always outside of his own merit.
It always comes back to mercy.
Always. We see this exact dynamic, specific request based on God's character, not our goodness in Daniel's prayer. The cross-reference is Daniel 9.18.
Oh my God, incline thine ear and hear. We do not present our supplications before thee for our righteousnesses, but for thy great mercies.
The insight is so clear. Passionate, detailed prayer is good and appropriate, but it has to be rooted in the belief that God's mercy is sufficient.
Not that our sincerity is sufficient.
Exactly. And for us, as New Testament believers, we have an even stronger case with Jesus as our mediator. The analysis points out we can and should be specific and passionate in our requests.
Knowing our Father is listening because of the great mercies available through Christ.
Right, and this intensity leads us right to verse 7, which is just a statement of pure, resolute conviction.
It really moves beyond hopeful asking to a declarative confidence.
It moves from pleading to this determined statement of action and assurance. This is David deciding his course of action before the trouble even hits.
He proclaims in Psalm 86.7, "In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me."
This verse is basically David preempting panic. He's making a conscious, resolute decision, a plan of action.
In the day of my trouble, when I am weakest, when my enemies are all around me.
I will call upon thee.
It's fascinating. The decision to pray is made in advance. It's not an emotional reaction. It's a fixed decision of the will.
And it's rooted in that past assurance of God's character.
Right.
And the confidence is just unwavering, for thou wilt answer me. He knows this is a certainty because of God's faithfulness and promises.
What promises is he leaning on here?
The source links it directly to Psalm 50.15, where God himself makes the invitation and gives the guarantee.
And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver thee, and thou shalt glorify me.
That's a contract right there between the worshiper and the creator.
Okay, let's talk about the actionable step. How does someone listening apply this deciding in advance principle? You get that terrifying email or the doctor calls with bad news. The immediate instinct is just panic, fight or flight.
Or reaching for some coping mechanism.
Right. So what do you do?
The actionable step, and the "you need faith in Jesus" team really emphasizes this, is to counter that panic instinct. You must decide today that when trials, anxiety, or temptation arrive, your first instinct, your very first move, will be to turn to God in prayer.
Not to your own limited strength or to worldly solutions.
Exactly. That advanced decision is what allows your will to triumph over that immediate emotional crisis.
That structural resolve, the decision made before the heat. That's what defines a truly faithful approach.
It anchors you not in your circumstances, but in the certainty of God's promise to answer.
And this powerful resolution then leads David to do something brilliant.
It's the great pivot in the prayer's architecture.
He broadens his scope dramatically. He shifts his focus in section 4 away from his personal need to the cosmic, universal worship and the unmatched majesty of God.
After securing his own position and making his resolute statement of faith, he reminds himself, and us, who exactly he's calling on. He's ensuring his perspective doesn't stay small.
So this is verses 8, 9, and 10. Let's hear this declaration of divine supremacy.
Psalm 86.8 through 10. Among the gods there is none like unto thee, O Lord, neither are there any works like unto thy works. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name, for thou art great and doest wondrous things. Thou art God alone.
Wow.
He declares God's unmatched greatness through comparison. The other gods he mentions, well, that's both the ancient, tangible idols.
And for us, the modern idols. Money, power, fame, political ideology.
Even self-reliance. Anything that competes for our devotion.
And he says God's uniqueness is in two spheres, character and power.
Absolutely. Unique in character, none like unto thee. His compassion, his grace, his readiness to forgive from verse 5 unmatched. And unique in power. Neither are there any works like unto thy works.
No one else can command creation or deliver from death.
Right. And then David expands this vision prophetically. He sees a day when this truth will be universally acknowledged. He moves beyond his personal prayer room to the entire global stage.
He proclaims, "All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee." That's an incredible vision of God's ultimate triumph.
It is. And that prophetic vision is guaranteed. Our sources confirm this ultimate reality in the New Testament,
The cross-reference is Revelation 15.4.
where it says, "Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For all nations shall come and worship before thee."
Okay, so bringing this back to the actionable steps, why does David pause his personal crisis to make this grand cosmic declaration? What's the spiritual utility of doing that?
It serves the ultimate purpose of putting our troubles into their proper, smaller perspective. The actionable step is this. When you feel overwhelmed by your personal problems, the most vital spiritual practice is to stop looking inward at the problem and start actively worshiping God for who he is.
Reminding yourself of his solitary claim to deity, "Thou art God alone," that shrinks the size of your challenges.
It shrinks them relative to his infinite power. It's the moment where faith transcends emotion. You go from asking for help to simply marveling at the source of all help.
And that transcendence perfectly sets the stage for the most profound request of the whole psalm. Section 5, the prayer for a unified heart.
This is the climax of David's internal journey. This is the deep work required for sustainable discipleship. Verse 11 is the anchor we set out to find.
David prays in Psalm 86.11, "Teach me thy way, O Lord. I will walk in my truth. Unite my heart to fear thy name."
It's a three-part request for comprehensive discipleship. First, teach me thy way. He knows he needs divine instruction.
Then he pledges to follow. "I will walk in thy truth." He submits his actions to God's instruction.
But the core of it, the existential plea, is unite my heart. And the analysis suggests this reveals a painful spiritual reality for David.
He knows his heart is intrinsically divided.
Absolutely. A divided heart is pulled in multiple directions at once. Fear pulls you toward worry. Pride pulls you toward self-reliance. Selfish desires pull you toward worldly things.
He's praying for single-minded, wholehearted devotion, a heart free from conflicting loyalties.
We see this problem everywhere in modern life. The inability to focus, the constant distraction, the scattered attention.
Is that a physical problem or a spiritual one?
The You Need Faith in Jesus team commentary would argue it's fundamentally a spiritual problem that shows up physically. A divided heart is unstable.
Like a stream of water split into many channels, losing all its power.
Exactly. A unified heart channels all devotion toward one end, and the purpose of that singular focus is to fear thy name.
Which means to honor, respect, and worship God with complete, unwavering focus.
And the New Testament warns us severely against the instability caused by this internal division.
We see that danger laid out so clearly in James 1.8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Instability in your life, in relationships, decisions, character, it flows directly from a divided heart. So the actionable step here is paramount.
This has to be a constant prayer for every believer.
It does. We have to continually ask the Holy Spirit to teach us God's truth from his word and to unify our scattered affections, our loves, our desires, our fears into an unwavering devotion to Jesus Christ.
That unity is the only escape from being double-minded.
It is. And once David asks for that transformative gift, he immediately pledges how he'll use it in verse 12.
The posture shifts instantly from petition to a resolute commitment to praise.
He knows what that unified heart is for. It's not just for internal peace, it's for external proclamation.
Psalm 86.12. "I will praise thee, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify thy name forevermore."
It's a powerful, intentional commitment. He pledges to use that newly unified heart, the whole of his being, for its intended eternal purpose. The praise is wholehearted, and it's forevermore.
That forevermore part elevates praise. It's not just a conditional, temporary, emotional response.
No, it's a permanent, unshakable covenant. It's a decision that transcends whether his circumstances change tomorrow.
It's truly a sacrifice, then, an offering made by the will.
It is. And the cross-reference reminds us that praise isn't always easy or natural. Sometimes it requires real effort. Hebrews 13.15.
By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually, that is, the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name.
So the actionable step is that we have to internalize that praise is a decision and an act of faith. You commit to praising God with all your heart even before the full answer to your prayer arrives.
Praise becomes the litmus test of the unified heart.
And this commitment to eternal praise is only possible because of the ultimate truth David acknowledges in verse 13.
This is the third heavily indexed verse, providing the ultimate eternal foundation for our gratitude.
He gives the profound justification for his eternal commitment. Psalm 86:13. For great is thy mercy toward me, and thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell.
He roots his praise in God's vast personal mercy. That phrase, delivered my soul from the lowest hell, referencing Sheol, the grave, that's about deliverance from utter despair, right? From hitting rock bottom.
That's the first layer, yes. He felt abandoned, and God rescued him. But the New Testament believer, looking at this through the commentary from the UNFIJ in Jesus team,
We see an even deeper deliverance.
this verse becomes a profound picture of salvation. Deliverance from the eternal separation from God that we deserve because of sin. The ultimate spiritual rescue.
And we see that gift summarized perfectly in the cross-reference, Romans 6:23.
For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life, through Jesus Christ our Lord.
That reframes everything. Our praise shouldn't just be rooted in our daily preservation, but in profound gratitude for being saved from the ultimate spiritual death.
And that gratitude ensures our praise remains unshakable. If your praise is based on your deliverance from the lowest hell, from eternal death, then no temporary trouble on earth can ever justify silencing that praise.
So we've established the foundation, the confidence, the worship, the unified heart. Now David uses that established relationship to address the immediate external problem, his opposition.
Yes, Section 6 brings David right back down to earth, asking for visible proof of God's help. He's incredibly realistic.
Even with a unified heart, the opposition doesn't just vanish.
No. So in verse 14, he characterizes his enemies, and in doing so, he clarifies the root of their hostility.
Psalm 86:1. O God, the proud are risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul and have not set thee before them.
He uses these very specific damning adjectives. Proud, violent, and fundamentally godless.
He doesn't just call them people who don't like me.
No. He identifies their core spiritual failing. They have not set thee before them. They act with utter self-reliance, as if God's existence or authority is just irrelevant.
So their hostility isn't just a personal disagreement with David. It stems from a spiritual condition, a prideful rejection of God's rule.
Exactly, and understanding that helps us reframe our prayers. You're not just praying for protection against individuals, but against the root spiritual disease of self-sufficiency.
This pattern of willful godlessness, it's chronicled elsewhere.
It is. In Psalm 10.4, the description of the wicked confirms this. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts.
That's a crucial psychological insight. David knows he's fighting people who have strategically removed God from their calculations.
And that allows him to stop focusing on their strength and start focusing on the God they have dismissed.
Which leads him directly to this masterful contrast in verses 15 and 16.
He deliberately contrasts the violence and godlessness of his enemies with the immutable goodness of the one true God.
He says, Psalm 86:16. But thou, O Lord, art a God full of compassion and gracious, long-suffering, and plenteous in mercy and truth. O turn unto me and have mercy upon me. Give thy strength unto thy servant and save the son of thine handmaid.
He's actually recalling God's famous self-revelation to Moses in Exodus 34.6.
He's listing God's titles.
He is compassionate, gracious, long-suffering, divine patience, and overflowing with mercy and truth. By invoking this established character, David builds his faith on a rock, contrasting it with the shifting sands of human malice.
He's asking God to be who he said he is. And notice that deeply humble language again. Save the son of thine handmaid. That's a powerful appeal.
It is. The term son of thine handmaid expresses this deep sense of belonging to God's household from birth. It's a humble appeal to a familial connection.
It's like saying, I was born into your service. I am entirely dependent on your household's protection.
Exactly. So the actionable step for us is clear. In times of spiritual or emotional attack, we have to intentionally contrast the threats against us with the unchanging, established character of God.
We fight the world's impatience with God's long-suffering.
And we must confidently ask for his strength, knowing that as his children, we're part of his family and under his care, as taught by the UNFIJ in Jesus team.
This all culminates in the final verse, verse 17, where David asks not just for private help, but for a public sign of vindication.
A sign that will silence his opponents. This is the request for the token for good. He's asking God to make his intervention visible.
Psalm 86:17. Show me a token for good, that they which hate me may see it and be ashamed. Because thou, Lord, hast helped me and comforted me.
A token for good is an undeniable public sign of God's favor. And what makes this request so radical is the objective. David wants his enemies to witness it and be ashamed.
This isn't about revenge, is it?
No, it's motivated by the desire for God's faithfulness to be publicly declared, which would vindicate David's trust.
He's challenging God in a way to reveal himself not just in private prayer, but in the public sphere where his reputation and safety are on the line.
Right. And notice how he speaks of God's help as if it's already happened. Thou, Lord, hast helped me and comforted me.
That is the highest form of resolute faith. He's declaring the result, help and comfort, even before the token is given.
And the practical step for us, as this analysis points out, is that it is absolutely not wrong to ask God to work in our lives in such a visible, undeniable way that it becomes a clear sign of his power.
These tokens serve to build our own faith and act as a powerful public witness, demonstrating that God helps and comforts his people. What an incredible journey through a single prayer. The architecture of it is just flawless. We started with the necessary posture of the poor and needy.
Then we established confidence by meditating on God's character as ready to forgive.
We focused our internal energy on that profound request to unite the heart.
And we finished with a declaration of confidence in visible help and public vindication.
Psalm 86 is truly a comprehensive blueprint. The flow from petition to praise to theological self-correction and back to specific confident requests, it shows us exactly how to build a dynamic, faith-filled prayer life.
A prayer life rooted entirely in God's mercy and character.
And the key takeaway, the core lesson emphasized by the You Need Faith in Jesus team commentary, is that deliverance, joy, and effective public witness, they all flow directly from that heart that's unified in devotion to God.
It teaches us that the ultimate goal of prayer isn't just getting the answers we ask for, it's transforming the very instinct of the heart.
Moving away from the instability of being double-minded toward that unwavering, single-minded devotion.
Exactly.
So we'll leave you with the central provocative thought that Psalm 86 places before us. That single-minded devotion, that unified heart, it is achievable, but it requires surrender. What scattered affection, what internal division, what reliance on self might that unified heart compel you to surrender completely to the Lord today so that your praise may be wholehearted now and forevermore.
Thank you for sharing these powerful sources with us and allowing us to take this deep dive into the architecture of faithful prayer. We really hope this analysis serves you well in your own daily devotion.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the wisdom that transforms.